G'day, welcome to Say It With Guitars. I'm your host, Pete Cornelius. Each episode I'll be digging deep and getting to hang with some of Australia's finest guitar pickers, songwriters, producers, collectors and makers. I look forward to bringing you these fun conversations and I hope you enjoy Say It With Guitars. Yes, g'day friends. Thank you again for joining us on the potty. Hope you're all doing well out there. What's happening in my world? Got a few gigs coming up, folks. Got some guitar-orientated gigs coming up around the state of Tas. We're doing 4 shows, and we're calling it Get Together with Richard Steele. He's a great guitar player, originally from Wollongong area. He's now living in Tassie, so we're going to be doing a few shows around the state, playing a bunch of tunes, a lot of surf tunes, a lot of old instrumentals, a lot of classic guitar-orientated material, so that's going to be a hoot. Make sure you check my website for show details. Also, we're heading to Melbourne and the Blues Train down in Queenscliff in November as well, so love to see you out and about. All right, folks, let's go. Before we crack into today's show, I'd like to shout out to our sponsor, Mr. Billy Tarrant from Tarrant Guitars. Billy's an amazing luthier and he makes some real sweet instruments. I'm lucky enough for him to have built me a 00 size acoustic guitar, which I've dragged all around the country and it's sounding better than ever. So yeah, check out tarrantguitars.net.au, Tassie's one-stop custom workshop for custom-made guitars, all guitar repairs and services. Let's get into the show. I'd like to welcome to today's episode of Say It With Guitars, my good friend Jeremy Edwards. Jeremy, how you doing?
How you doing, mate? What a pleasure to be doing this with you.
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember having a chat with you about this over maybe 12 months or so ago, and so apologies it's taken me this long to pull my finger out, but you do have a new product out.
I thought you'd left me on the cutting room.
Oh, the cutting room floor?
I thought you'd left me on the cutting room floor. Yeah, I was a bit like, oh, okay. Well, he seems to be getting a lot of his other mates in there. So I was like, okay.
Okay. No hard feelings. Anyway, so I thought I'd pull my finger out.
You've got to make me big.
No,
Thank you, PC.
Yeah, so it's a pleasure, mate. Thanks for getting on board and finding time in your busy schedule of Zooms. No doubt you've got a few publicity events to turn up to. Tell me about what's happening in your world at the moment in regards to that whole publicity train.
Well, my family's teasing me a lot because on the publicity, on the campaign trail, for the album at the moment, they're not quite used to seeing me this busy. And then I'm on the radio yesterday, and and then. There's promo going everywhere, and I don't know. The kids are like, "Oh my God, there's something actually really happening with my middle-aged dad." And my mum, so I'm getting a lot of teasing, good value from the family. They're giving me heaps and just kind of going, "Are you actually sick of talking about yourself yet?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, I've spent my whole life ready for this moment.
Exactly. I'm paying people to let me do it. No, it's going really well, mate. I'm all jokes aside. It's exciting to talk about the new record, and I guess a lot of people have that sort of thing. But this record in particular, I'm really proud of, and I'm really excited, and I feel like it's something new for me in a lot of ways, and I think the writing is a lot better, and maybe it's what they call demo-itis in the industry, I guess. The latest thing you're doing is the best thing, but I feel it's easy to talk about because I'm so happy with it. So,
as you should be, man. It's a great product, and look, all of your albums to date are quality products with great songs, great instrumentation, great sounds, and I'd definitely be happy, if that was your catalogue. But this new one, I think it does go up a notch in terms of, like you said, the writing, and I guess just working with a broader range of people, I think as an artist, you sort of get used to your crew, your people, and it's safe and it's fun. Yeah. But sometimes you got to sort of break through that to sort of, put some pressure on yourself, raise the bar a bit, so to speak. So.
Absolutely, and let go of control.
Yes.
I mean, you're someone who is very talented within recording and doing that in your own sphere and stuff like that, if I can say. And I never listen to your albums and kind of think, oh, yeah, maybe he needs another producer or he needs this or that. But that said, letting go of control a bit more with songs and with the production of this record has been a complete revelation for me. Maybe it's just the timing and it was time for me to do that, and maybe getting older, I'm not sure, they're all the things together, some sort of symbiosis there, but and finding the right person. That you can do that and it can go pear-shaped. But if I can just talk about how that came about with Josh Schubert, the producer, I hadn't heard much of his stuff as a producer before. I just had known him as a percussionist and a drummer on records of people that I loved, that Matt Fell had produced, and Shane Nicholson and Felicity and Urquhart and Glenn in particular. And I just thought I'd love to work with this guy and have him play percussion on my records. And I had planned to actually have Glenn Hanna produce the record that I just released. That was the plan between us. He tried to talk me out of it and sort of use one of the big guns. But I could hear with what Glenn was doing, it was exactly in my wheelhouse as what I wanted to do. And so I sort of was introduced to Josh Schubert, the producer of this record, through Glenn and Felicity. And when I sort of got in contact with him, and when we met around the time that Glenn Hanna passed, we started talking a little bit about that stuff, and he was saying that he was a songwriter too, and that he really loved the stuff I was doing. And I didn't know he was a writer as well. So I sent him a couple of demos and stuff, and he said, just come up and we'll do a song and let's see how it goes. And if it goes really well, like, off we go. Let's talk about it properly then, but let's just get into it. And that first song was a complete revelation. That's the first song on the record, Boy. And we just did the entire thing in a day, and he was just so excited, and we hit it off so well. Musically, emotionally, like just with humor, everything. And we finished that song in a day, and we're just sort of jumping out of our skin. It was like, wow, this is going to be something really different for me and something special. And he came from, I guess, he's much younger than me too, and he came with this kind of something a little bit 90s rock in some of the things that he was doing, but also like a sense of pop, because he'd been playing with Josh Pike and some pop people and stuff like that. So his sensibilities to pop music and just production ideals for what was going on. And then of course, my push and my main influences from, I guess, a bit more left field roots and stuff like that, and same place as you, growing up being a blues player and stuff like that. So when that sort of combined, it just went boom, and we were just doing a song a day, and everything that we were touching and he was touching was gold. And I was just so excited. So it was a fantastic
Yeah, that would have been a hoot,
process.
especially after, like you said, the first day, the first session together, and finishing a song, and like to sit back and go, look what we've achieved. We've had a good time, and we've like smashed it. Like had a.
He was only sort of doing 8-hour days or something. He's very careful with his his mental health and his productivity and what he feels when he's firing, and not just burning himself out, like the sort of rock and roll days sort of thing. So, and I was like, okay, well, wow, I would go for like 12, 14 hours or something, but I was like, okay, this is the way. And I realized we didn't have to do it. And your capacity to come up with really great decisions is then limited. When you're going too long and you're burning out and fatiguing, creatively and orally. And it was a really different approach too, because of that pop thing, I was just starting to hear totally different things. So I was playing this song that I'd written, Boy, in an open tuning. I think I brought the guitar part. I'd had that through COVID, and I'd done some tracks down here, and so we could load up that stuff, check the vocal wasn't, and he said, like, let's try another vocal, and he had these beautiful mics, and just even that whole process of singing and sort of an octave lower than a lot of things that I'd sung in records before, and just found this new part of my voice that I enjoyed and he really liked. And then I was hearing a lot of different things in there straight away because of his approach. Was just like, let's see these counter melodies on piano, and I guess it's like a pop approach as opposed to a roots approach, where you're relying on your playing and you're improvising and the vibe to get something really special down like that. I was sort of thinking like that, but then out on top of that, I want to hear like a backwards reverse guitar mixed with a piano, and then we're going to hit this, and then we're going to put an ebo on there and stuff like that. And it just was going a million miles an hour, and it was all just coming up sort of cold.
That is exciting.
Really exciting.
And yet I sort of feel that I come from the same, like you said, the same sort of rootsy background. So it's almost like a live band. It has to sound like you've got the guys in the room, and it feels like a natural occurrence. Whereas I guess that pop sensibility, you have the freedom to muck around with it. Go, okay, cool, let's do this sort of, toy piano sound with like lots of reverb on the right-hand side, and the left-hand side we'll put this farfisa, or we'll just like, and for him to have that technology, like the ability to use all that at a good rate, because anyone can just sit on a MIDI keyboard and just like go through all the sounds until they think they can find the one they want. Whereas to have someone who has a good understanding of that knowledge and to put it into place and to keep it musical is, that's.
He's high, and absolutely. And I think his understanding as a songwriter too really helped there. Like, I mean, he's a high functioning, fabulous guy. Like, he's just jumping from one thing to the next, and the ideas are just flying around, and we just didn't labor on anything. That was just like, let's try this, and bang, and we just try, and it's like, no, then we're laughing, no, that part, it's all this exciting, like, your new best friend sort of thing. So it was really lovely to pass through that with somebody as well, and develop a friendship that you'll always have as well during that, which is another beautiful thing about music. As much as you can end up in a lot of acrimonious sort of things and band problems and stuff like that, man, when you just crack on with someone and you're in that space and you're doing it, there's nothing like it.
Also, I want to
well, there was this one girl, sorry.
I want to touch briefly on you mentioned it earlier about your singing style was sort of changed a bit, not necessarily in general, but in the recording of this record. I did notice it today listening in. Your register is lower, it's softer, and the sound of your vocal is it's like a softer, more intimate, relaxed sort of sound. It sounds fantastic. I think it really suits the production and instrumentation, and whether that's just an age thing or
maybe it suits me better after all this time as well.
That's right.
Maybe I should have been doing that before.
Yeah.
Someone said to me about Boy when I released it, it's just like, you sound like someone between Paul Kelly and Lou Reed, and I was like, I'm taking that shit.
It makes its way from a long way upstream behind that little shed where I kiss Rosemary and softly she said, boy, if they catch us, you better run. my best friend's old.
And just, I guess it's I mean, you grew up being a guitar player kind of before taking yourself seriously as a singer too, you know, and it's a long road when you're not a natural singer, you know. Like, I just grew up with so many natural singers and listened to so many natural singers. I guess I didn't back myself. I still don't most of the days, because everyone I sing with, I feel like is a better singer than me. You know, that I'm around, and maybe that's just in your headspace, and you have people out there kind of going, "Oh, I dig what you're doing more than that," or whatever. But I don't hear it in my, you know, in my head. But I think it took me this long, and maybe in conjunction with the songwriting, taking the writing so seriously, or focusing on it so much in the last 6 or 7 years, that I really just found different ways and different characters and character in my approach to singing. And just having the patience and the confidence to kind of go, I'm just going to just crank this up, and I'm just going to sing low, and I'm going to stay there right against that mic, and I'm just going to get this intimacy, and I'm not going to try and prove that I'm a good rock and roll singer, which I felt like I'd been doing on other albums. Like, I can crank this out above the band, and, you know, that sort of thing. And just having the confidence to take some chances, maybe, and maybe getting that feedback from a producer who's kind of going, man, like, they love this part or whatever, you know, and of your voice or whatever, and it's like, oh, so you and then, of course, and maybe that's your ego or whatever, but it gives you the confidence to kind of to stay there and to try and move around within that part of your voice, as opposed to what you've been leaning back on.
That's right. And especially to have someone who maybe, you know, who you've only interacted briefly with and hasn't had that experience. He might not know what your natural voice was once upon a, you know, he just maybe thinks this is what the song needs. Let's just, you know, serve the song. So if it's comfortable and
this is that you're dead right, that anonymity when you go in, and you know, some things become a revelation to you. It's just like, right, of course, that's why some people just keep moving amongst producers and stuff like that, because it keeps it fresh, and there's an anonymity working with those people. If you go in there and kind of go, this is the way I sing, and you have a demo, and they're like, cool, that's his singing. And if they hear your old stuff, it's like, what the hell were you doing there? Just squawking around, you know. And it's like, oh, you know, and so that exactly, you're dead on it. You know, they kind of hear the song as that's right, brand new,
and they're not attached to it. They don't have the emotion that the songwriter does or the performer does. They're clean, you know. They're coming at it clean.
That's right. Yeah, and I think that there's something with I hear when I listen back to my old records, I feel like I was trying to prove myself to the people that I looked up to as great rock singers. Like, imagine if I could sing like Paul Rodgers. Imagine if I could sing like Kevin Bennett. Imagine if I could sing like Jagger when he's cranking like that. Yeah, cool. So that's what I'll do. And it's like, you're not, I mean, it seems so silly to say and so naive, but it's like, perhaps you haven't found the best part of your voice yet, because you're trying to kind of prove yourself against these people that you've loved, these, you know, icons or something like that, and it seems so immature when you say that.
But that is how you learn.
I guess
that's how you find your thing, I think. You know, it's the same as a guitar player. You have to try and, you know, learn as many ways of playing the instrument as you can. It's the same as your voice. You have to try and get all these different, you know, parts of your voice that you might not have discovered yet. And I guess that's what time. It's the only thing that you can thank for is time, you know, like you'll end up finding something that is the most comfortable and most natural and honest way of getting a bunch of lyrics out. Yeah.
That's right. And getting I guess it ties back into what I was saying with the writing, when the writing becomes something else, or it means more to you, or maybe the people I've had around me in the last 6 or 7 years is like, you don't want to be fucking around, around those guys. There's some serious writing going on and performance and singing. And so like that I've been accepted into this fabulous group of people in country music and roots music around the country music scene. Well, oddly, none of them are particularly playing just straight country music, but and I think it just really snapped me into a different line. It's just like, mate, if you're going to be around people like that, you want to be able to hand over a product or a song, or sing a song in front of someone that's going to stand up next to those guys, because there's a lot of really great artists out there in that scene, and you'll just get steamrolled by the next person coming up. And so I think that really, it was just the right time for me to really realize how important that was and how seriously I should be taking that. Not saying not enjoy it and laboring over stuff, but just like be serious about your songwriting. Do not rest on an easy lyric and something that just sort of tosses off, and then that tosses off, and then the next part of it sounds great, which, not saying I didn't write any decent songs before, but the level of focus that I have on writing now is very different.
And that like you said, that probably just comes from hanging out and being surrounded by some great singer-songwriters. And the pressure gets higher. It gets harder to here's a song that I wrote, and then you sort of, if you don't feel comfortable with it, or you think that it's going to be subpar compared to your peers, you're going to spend more time ironing out the wrinkles, getting it.
That's right. And when I was there is no way in hell that when I was growing up I would ever think that I would be sitting there doing songwriters in the round sort of stuff, or live to airs and stuff like that with those guys that I'm working with now. I still kind of pinch myself and don't kind of, I know there's something going on, but I don't rate myself, like in there, I guess maybe it's a good thing, but like, I just thought there would be no way that I would ever be doing that with those guys. And so, but if nothing, I'm a tenacious bastard.
Yeah.
What I lack in natural talent, I make up with tenacity. Remember that, kids.
Yeah, hot tip, kids. So let's talk about some guitars. I know we've got involved with the songwriting content, which I think is a huge part of playing guitar anyway. I know that I always took singing as like a token thing you just got to do between the guitar solos. That's how I used to feel about guitar singing when I was younger.
Yes.
And I feel that I've sort of been...
You realise it's actually the other way around.
100%. But it's taken me I wouldn't say a long time, but definitely in the last 10 years I've sort of gone, this guitar playing's fun, but it's not what the whole focus is about. Excuse me. So, but let's talk about guitars a little bit because there's a guitar in the podcast title.
That's what we're about here.
And there's some pretty sweet tones and parts and all sorts of layering gems on this record. Maybe can we start with just an acoustic approach? Have you for tracking these songs, were you working with a click of sorts, and did you start with basically a guitar and a vocal? Is that how the main?
Yep. Most of the stuff was tracked like that. I was using, because we were in COVID and I only just had a sort of bedroom set up. I wasn't working with the drummer in my band, George, who I'd built a studio with, and our kind of relationship fell apart, and I didn't have access to that level of stuff. So I was tracking at home with Pro Tools and decent, mics and stuff like that, but not great outboard gear. And still with a lot of the stuff with my Martin Shenandoah, which is like a mid-range Martin is the first acoustic guitar that I bought at 19 years old. It's like a D35-32, they say. So it's like a mid-range Martin, just plays beautifully. I also had an acoustic, a Maton, an EM2205C or something, I think it is, that plays really beautifully. That Glenn Hanna gave to me, and so I wanted to use that. I did use a Fishman Aura pedal as well for a couple of things, which was quite interesting. Because I with some tones I was struggling with that, so sometimes I'd take a line out and I'd have a mic and then I'd have that, so I'd be able to have two tracks, to be able to give to someone. And then some demos I would build on and put other guitars on, but I realised once I started knowing that I might have been able to use some of those performances because they were capturing something. That's something that I really realised too, that, I'd go up to the studio with Josh and I'd try and layer things and stuff like that, and I just couldn't capture the same vibe. I was just something about that early stuff when you're capturing things that was really seemed to be working. I'm become a lot better at working with a click, and sometimes I work with loops. So, I do a lot, I've got drum programs and work with loops that feel good for the song and stuff like that. So I guess a mix of that. So I would have put half of the acoustic guitars, which is the guts of the song, down at my place to a click or two loops. I think one song was just free. I think the song Ghosts that features Shane Nicholson on the album, that was free. That's just me holding decent time enough on that one with a picking part to kind of get through it and get someone to layer on it later on. But we could use and upload those tracks. So because of COVID and because of I guess my playing was at a decent enough level that I could actually play stuff where producers not having to get it and kind of go, we'll just sort of spend half a day hacking up that acoustic palette.
Nothing in this town ever seemed good enough. Nothing even came close. And I'm standing in the wind and the rain down on Main Street, looking to find your ghost. Through the whole thing, it like some spoiled lonely king. You threw it all away. And funny how I'm just missing you now at the end of another long day. Headlights fade out of town, found the long way around. 'Cause I'm calling out, hey, you say my long gone brother, what you doing now? And funny how the world keeps spinning, my long gone brother, what you doing now? Well, I was working at 15 down a cafe.
Yeah, there's a lot of producers out there who are,
I was always
artists come and they play the demo, they play, or they put it down in the studio and the producer's like, yep, cool, all right, I'll just go in and play that or spend time hacking it up, or they'll play the part. And then this, it sort of starts getting away from you pretty quick as an artist, that stuff, and then you've got to try and be able to reproduce that later on, so luckily I can sort of cut all the songs on the album I'm playing by myself live, just acoustically. But so to answer your question, I was I did a couple of acoustic tracks up there, but most of the stuff was based around that acoustic part and that initial vocal, and I'd maybe redo half the vocals I kept that I had done at home. And I just couldn't capture the same vibe when I was in the studio. Some I could just straight away, some I couldn't, and I didn't let it bug me, and I thought that I was going to get into that thing of I couldn't sing it again here in front of someone, and I'm just like, no, and start spiraling down into that sort of stuff, which can affect singing more than anything, more than playing when you get into that headspace. But I was just really comfortable, and I was just a bit like, sort of, fuck it, I'm really comfy, and I'm singing and playing well, and this is me, and Josh was really excited about the songs, and I was like, oh, well, that's. He's feeling it.
And performance is always going to win over audio quality. Even if there's something not quite optimal about someone's setup, if the performance is great, like, that's going to be much of a stronger draw card than a pristine sounding capture.
That's right. Because that's just what's getting the audience in there, like in particular with the vocal performance. If you're feeling something and you're projecting that out, and the combination of the melody and the lyric is working at the same time, and that symbiosis of those things, then yes, great if you can capture something on amazing gear. If it's not, most people, especially these days, are not going to.
Yeah, especially if they're listening.
It's not safe
through their phone, or like bloody earbuds or some cheap MP3 player. So but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try hard.
That's right.
Make it sound good.
So no, that's right, and that it's not fun to try and do that and find out about that stuff. So I did some electric guitars at home. I can have a bit of a bang on about the guitars that I'm using now. It's all pretty cheap and nasty these days, PC. I'm using a lot a Telecaster that I built with Shane Nicholson, where I got this cheap body off Gumtree or something like that, and I didn't have a maple neck telly. I had a rosewood neck telly, and I played rosewood neck strats and stuff like that, but I didn't have a maple spanky twang sort of telly. And I was like with gear, and I was like, oh, I think I need that because I haven't got that. And I think I just, Shane's a very generous man in my life, and he makes quite a lot of the pedals that I use now too. So he's a real boy genius with a lot of that stuff. And I said, you haven't got a maple neck lying around anywhere? And he's like, oh, I want to leave it with me. And the telly that I saw in Gumtree was up near his place. So that's how it started. And he ran around, he ducked around the corner and got it. And it was an absolute piece of shit. He said, this is the worst guitar that I've ever seen in my life. And we were just cracking up. And so it started from there. And he's like, leave it with me. And then, you can pick these names up off the floor after I finished dropping them, mate. But then he rang Troy Casadale, and he was like, "Oh, you got it," so Troy gave him a maple neck, so that went on there. And then he put these Bill Lawrence pickups in it, which are just I never heard anything like it. It was just like, wow, okay, that's a bit of a different deal. And, put these great electronics in there with a treble bleed, which I love in guitars and I use a lot, and stuff. And then this guitar it's just an absolute killer. Bits, caster sort of guitar. So I play that all the time now. And then, and then there was Bitzers up at Josh's studio where I can't even name what they were. This thing with like this tortoise shell. It looked like a bloody mosaic tile finish on the top of it. It looked like it'd kill you if it dropped, with this great Bigsby on it. And I used that a lot on the record.
Cool.
That so it's a Les Paul copy. And for slide stuff at home, I used the trusty 62 reissue Strat. So I used that you would know that guitar well from me playing that. I think you've got one too. And also one of the main guitars, my two main live guitars that I use, and then I used actually a fair bit for the album was the Telly. And I've got an Epiphone Casino that plays beautifully, and it was like a $350 guitar, and it had just been so beautifully looked after, and the neck and the playability was amazing. And I took out the humbuckers that were in it. I think it's a Les Paul Special. Les Paul Special is one of those. And I put some Retrotron humbuckers in there. So
I've seen that one too.
So they're like a cheap version of Filtertrons, I guess, or whatever. And then I put a push-pull on it, so it goes from humbucker into like single coil spanky. So like this thing has just become
go-to.
This go-to monster that now that I use for slide, and so you can sort of have that clean, spanky sort of Filtertron sound, and then I just push the push pull down and just go into humbuckers. And so for hitting it for a solo or something like that is just fantastic. I use that guitar a lot.
Yeah.
And everyone always comes up to me and they're like, what is that thing, man? That is just, it must be a Duesenberg, it must be this. And that's like, dude, my guitars are pieces of shit that feel and play great. But I could not sell them for $100 each.
Yeah, and that's great. Something about that. Like Ry Cooder used, didn't he have some of those Italian guitars? Like for a while, like obviously had his Stratocasters, but I think he had some weird looking Italian guitars as well. I think Buddy Miller also uses some weird cheap guitars.
You know what it's like. You pass through the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Like back in the day, when you're young, it's just like I had to have what Stevie Ray had, and I had to have a 62 reissue, and I had to have that Sunburst thing. And the as much as I love these cheap guitars, funnily enough, when I picked that guitar up, and I think I had about $2,500 in my account as a young landscaper in superannuation when I was a young boy, and I cashed it in and lost probably $5,000 or something, and then cashed it in and bought that 62 reissue Strat. And that guitar, now I still got it, and the Martin, they were around the same time. But that guitar, when I picked that up, then you sort of realise the difference between a beautiful guitar and a cheap guitar. I can play the cheap guitars, I get all the shit out of there that I want, but when you pick up that 62, that neck on that's like, holy moly.
You can feel it. I know that the sound and the emotion you can get out of a guitar, it doesn't matter what it is. But there is something internally about holding a really nice instrument. It feels like, I've made it. It's like comfy shoes or something about it.
Yeah, but that is also the reason why I don't pick up really beautiful instruments. That's why I've gone to cheap guitars, because I'm just like, if you put like a $10,000 guitar in my hand, it's like, I'm done, I'm gone. So I'm going to have it. I just don't want to know about it. Same thing with drugs. I don't want to know how great it is, because you're just going to end up going there.
Just leave me out of it.
I don't want to know about it.
But it's funny though, because like there are so many great guitars, but I think for me, and I might relate to you as well, because I think a Strat is like the most comfortable. Like everything's there; it's all at your fingertips. I feel most comfortable on a Strat. I can, I don't know. What's your take on the most comfortable all rounder? One that you most feel like is your thing.
It's funny, you know what I mean. I feel like, I just change with everything I sort of pick up, and I sort of think, oh no, this is my favorite. Now that feels comfortable. But I do, I would have to agree with you, because I grew up really, maybe my formative years, the same, pardon me, as you, really learning how to dig in and play, was on a Strat. And now when I play the Strat in one of the acts that I'm with, Jen Myers and the Rough and Tumble, and that's all on the Strat, except if I pick up something for open tuning. But and that just feels great, man. And when we tracked that album, I used my old trusty Strat, and just that front pickup through a deluxe reverb, and just I think I was using a Greer Lightspeed, a clone that Shane Nicholson had, which is called the Jez Speed, and just with that, putting some hair onto it, and it was just like, that's the sound of the record, and it just nothing could compare to that sound for that. So there's definitely something there where I feel very comfy when I go back to that. It's just, oddly enough, I don't play it much with most of the acts that I'm playing with now. I don't have a clear reason behind. It's a little bit sort of like, look at that shiny thing over there. Oh, this works well with that, and then I just start doing it. So it's not really much of a considered thing.
But it's also, I think, nice to have an instrument that's not 100% comfortable. It's like singing in a different key, or it's like, taking all the bass out of your amp and cranking the mid-range up and just going, cool, let's work with that, as opposed to just going, oh, that all sounds amazing. If you've got everything lined up and it's just great, I think you need a bit of... It's a bit
too easy, right? And I think maybe that comes from the bluesman thing, where it's just like, sort of like, man, you're going to pay your dues, you're going to fight against that thing, right? And that's where you would have grown up with that same thing. It's like heavy strings, high action. That's the way you get the tone. So you end up with, it's like surfing a plank first. You don't want to surf like a 6-foot zippy board with 5 fins on it. Do you know what I mean? You start out on a dog, man. And then everything else after that's like
That's right. Yeah.
But I've become less fussy, Pete. That's the thing. I've just become less fussy, and it's just in my hands now, really. And as much as a toss that sounds, it's actually really true. I can just pretty much pick up anything and get the sound I kind of want out of it. Maybe not for a long gig or a long, string of things or recording, but like, you get pretty good at just sort of. You should be, right? You're playing, for 35 years or 40 years now, and it's just like, you should be able to pick shit up and get something out.
And there is so much in the touch.
If you got to rely on your beautiful 10 grand, like, you got to rely on your expensive guitar.
Yep, just go to a blues jam and watch all the lawyers turn up with their, custom shop Gibsons, and it's like, oh, here we go.
And often when I get on those guitars, I'm a bit sort of like, this is just not something quite right. But you sort of pick something out, you got to fight against it a little bit. It's like, I'm going to wring a bloody sound out of this thing. I'm joking. Yeah,
it's quite the journey, but it's definitely a fun one. I'm definitely happy to play that game.
Keep going.
And so for the record, were you playing mostly, amplifiers, putting mics in front of amps, or are you kind of doing some electronic trickery?
Both. So that, there's some trickery in there too. I was miking some stuff at home with a Blues Junior with a Cannabis Rex speaker in it, which is just one of the best amps that I've had like that, and putting that speaker in it was just amazing. Kind of glassy and spanky, but sort of a bit papery up the top and stuff like that, and just a great sounding speaker in that amp. So I was doing that, some direct in stuff with Josh, and just small amps and stuff like that. So there's not much to speak of really as a full guitar album like that. And everything's sort of based around the acoustic guitar on the album, even when it gets into some rock and roll. It's sort of, I think there was a couple of songs we tracked together where Josh and I are playing in the same room, Edge of the World, so sort of a bit like a kind of bluesy stomp, Black Crowes type thing.
Well, I grew up a city boy, but now I'm going off the grid. And it's been a while since I've been in someone's employ, but maybe let's keep that here. And I spent some time in the welfare line. Why they gotta make it so hard? I paid some taxes, might have skipped a few fines. Camped out in your backyard. But now it's time to just make a stand and get my ducks in a row. Blues with a feeling, yes, I'm feeling fine. And I'll tell you just what I know. Goodbye now, I'm heading out to the edge of the world. No wallet, no keys, just help me please get to the edge of the world.
Yeah, again, I wasn't fussy about that, and we were working so fast and it was just sounding so great. I didn't care where the sounds were coming from, man. You know, I spent most of my life as a guitar player chasing that tone from that amp and all that stuff. And, you know, and live, I'm still like that, but I'm not a fuss pot over it as much anymore. But live, I want to be able to have like a really good tone that I'm happy with. In the studio, I'm kind of just threw it to the wind. I was just like, you know, and I'll just put some, you know, I'll plug the fuzz in on the way into the desk or something like that, and then turn all the tops off it, and then just, you know, turn the tops off the guitar, and that's the solo, and just being totally open into freeform with guitar sounds.
And then you sort of play towards that too. Like if it's a sound you're not quite used to or you're not familiar with, you lean towards it and you use what you've got. You know, you sort of you make the most of it.
And you come up with shit that you're not usually doing. Yeah, absolutely. You just sort of, I would have never played that if I had my setup doing that. But you got me sounding like an old T-Rex record by plugging all this stuff in backwards and doing that. And so all of a sudden it's like, well, far out, where the hell did that come from? You know, so and I think being open to that, those possibilities, and maybe mature enough to kind of go, man, it's about what happens in this song and what happens for the song. So, yes, a beautiful guitar tone at the right time in that song is going to be killer, but also a totally mangled guitar tone that sounds like, you know, that you plugged into a Casio tone. Yeah, obnoxious, like plastic, you know, sort of tone out of this thing could be the thing that people just go, I love that, man, and you just got to be open to it, you know, just don't ask me to reproduce it live.
And like you said, like letting go and giving someone else some control, some creative control, and going, all right, cool, I can play that part and you can do what you like with it. There you go.
And I really did this time. I really just let go with that sort of stuff. I mean, there wasn't much stuff on the album where I was just like, we've got to change that. We've got to, you know, it might have been just a couple of things. I'm like, I just want to get something a little bit cleaner there, or something's got to come in. Like, can we just sort of get something mid-rangey over that side? But there wasn't much of that tech talk sort of stuff. It was pretty much like I was just getting the sound straight away, and so was Josh, because he's a great guitar player. So he's just phenomenal, you know. Go from playing drums, he'd just cut something to a loop that I had laid, and we cut the loop out so my part was in time, and he would play some things as a drummer once or maybe twice. I think the most he ever did was 3 times, and that was what was on the record. And then he just grabbed the bass, and then he's just, you know, grabbing the mellotron, and then, you know, harassing him to play piano, which he hated and stuff. But even that was great. And then he's playing lap steel, and he picked up the banjo, and he's like, my dad taught me how to play this. And he starts playing all this Piedmont style banjo. And I was just like,
now he's showing off.
You're a freak now.
Settle down.
Sort of gone into, now I've just gone into a different zone. Having a guy like that around doesn't hurt. You think you're kind of a good player and you got all this sort of stuff going on, and then you sort of meet someone who can do all that, and it's pretty amazing. But I mean, you know, it's the same. It's like anything. He can't do what I can do. Same deal. it just everyone's brings something unique, and it's how you combine those things when you
absolutely, yeah, and knowing when to not use those tools and go, okay, cool. I once heard a podcast interview with I think it was with Jay Bellarose, the drummer from a lot of those sort of T-Bone Burnett records and things like that. And part of his skill set, he said, was like, I'm choosing not to play on this song, and that is a musical choice. Therefore that is me playing on the song. That's my part.
That's my part.
Yeah, it's me not playing. I thought that's such a great take, knowing when to not make a noise.
Absolutely. And you and I, it's one of the most famous, BB King things that you and I have been, hearing all that time is, of course, what you don't play and just waiting and stuff like that. Someone gave me a compliment that I wish I could just remember exactly what they said. Someone texted me and they bought the album the other day and just said, it's so patient what you're doing. There's nothing there that I feel like is just shoved into people. The choices are so patient. And I just thought that's got to be one of the best compliments that I could ever get, when you're putting a record together, is that you're just not trying, that it's coming naturally. And so you're just making these sort of relaxed and patient decisions with your parts and maybe the singing and I guess the production then, it was something that really struck me as like a really beautiful thing.
So nice, especially in today's music. It's just rammed down your throat. Like you put on it, most pop, music, it's just at you the whole time. There's no space for reflection or
there's no break, right? And I guess that's right. Yeah, the hooks are coming at you so fast. Which I love hooks as much as the next guy, but with the playing I grew up in particular the blues, and it's really interesting how it comes back to that sort of stuff when I think about the blues players that I loved, the Kings. You listen to how patient the choices are, with Albert King or BB King, and even Albert Collins, where you would kind of go, man, he's like, he's shredding and that sort of thing. It's just like when you listen to how much he's playing, his amp might be shredding and falling apart because he's playing that loud, but he's taking a long time. He is letting stuff sing, and that's patience. And I think that playing style has kind of influenced the way that I'm doing the music that I'm sort of writing now, and the production is like who I'm working with is making those choices as well, because they can hear it in what I'm doing, or maybe especially as a guitar player, that they're hearing a lot of patience in the playing and the parts, where it's just the right thing. I'm trying to just do the right thing. I couldn't care less, at how many notes are in there and stuff like that. And it's just got to be the right thing. And then you get the chance to sort of have these flurries that can be then, aggressive or really interesting, but then just coming back to having something just sit and wait, and then phrasing of that, where it's just like when a solo is coming in, it's like it's not coming in on the one of something like that. You can wait and something, the vocals are not there, something's coming, but then it comes in something complete. And so just the patience to do that, rather than like, okay, we'll hit red and like down on the downbeat of the one on that solo, you just off you go, mate. I think you learn, you fill all this stuff up. You learn that. You should learn that from being a blues guitarist, and it can come back to you in spades later on.
The way that people record, like it's so easy to do that now. Like, you can just layer a project up to as a million tracks. Yeah. You can do that without any stress. So, and I think that takes restraint to actually go, you know what, I'm just going to put an acoustic here, maybe a little high part here, let the drums and bass kind of groove, or whatever the instrumentation is. It takes constraint. Absolutely. And that's harder than playing your
Yeah,
instrument.
especially with that's right, and especially with recording, I think that you should be getting better at those choices. Like I'm 52, like I've made a fair few records and recordings with other people now, where it's just like you should know that the weight of what you play on a recording has a completely different weight than it does when you play live. And it's all, I think playing bass is one of the great things about learning about that, the weight of a note, the length of notes when you're playing, and how long something can just hang when you, and you only really start to understand that, I think, when you record and you start kind of going like, wow, when I just cut that off, that note, and I leave that for the vocal, and then I drop it back in, and it's on, it's not on the downbeat, and it's here, and then the length of hitting that and cutting it off on a bass guitar just means everything, and can just make or break a song. Similar approach with guitar playing, but I think playing bass at home and on recordings and demos like really helped that sort of thing, where it's like recorded that stuff. You can have the patience. Yeah. You don't have to fill it. And when you do fill it, you would know this very well too. Like when you start filling a lot of stuff and play too many bass notes in a song, and you get kind of a little bit too busy with a song, it just destroys it. So I think that's a really great kind of tip for people who are looking to advance themselves with that sort of, basic recording and songwriting, and how to get better at what we're talking about now is try playing bass on one of your acoustic songs and stuff like that, and realize how fucking hard it is to get it right.
Yeah.
People just toss it off and it's like, well, 4 strings. I mean, everyone can play bass, right? All the jokes and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, but to play it well is really, really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. The attack, the resonance of the note, and just being even, like just making all the notes without using a compressor. Just like make everything sound like it's all together and in a pocket and melodic and rhythmic. And
that is really difficult on bass guitar. Yeah. You get away with a murder as a guitar player a lot, unless you're sort of doing, finger-picked acoustic guitar and stuff where you got to be really even and that sort of thing. But, try playing an even bass track and go and have a look at your waveforms once you sort of do that.
Yeah.
And then see someone who's really good at it. It's like,
okay.
In a big red hat, and he's coming for you. No matter what or where you're at, shining like a 6-gun, digging up the swamp and having me some fun. I'm mean and proud, I'm singing it loud. Look at me, baby, I'm a symptom. Saved by the prayers of the faithful who got so lost along the way. We're bringing fear to your table. Good morning, America.
So, Jez, where can we see you? What's happening? Are you doing any live album launches? One at Tamworth, did I see?
I am. I'm doing one at Tamworth, and I've got an acoustic album launch coming up with Kevin Welsh.
Nice.
Who's if you don't know him, go check him out, kids. Great American singer-songwriter who's living over here now, and
I didn't know that.
That's at the Camelot Lounge on October 12th. Then I've got another show down here locally with Lynn Botel, another great songwriter and golden guitar kid. That's on the 19th of November. I guess a part of the reason why I haven't sort of got this whole run of shows around the record being released is really just because I've just been playing, and I'm so busy playing with everyone else, finding the time to build that momentum as a solo performer is hard. I've been out of the center of that kind of spotlight for quite a few years now, and building that back up is tricky. It's tricky for people to fill rooms anyway, no matter what they're doing. But so I guess I'm building a lot of that momentum with what I'm doing with the record, and a lot of people are kind of reacting to it, and then playing with these other great people and doing supports and just building that up and kind of going, hey, here I am, I've got something to say at the moment. And so I'll probably do a couple of bigger launches around Tamworth and early next year, but just do some sort of, I guess, some building at the moment, which I'm happy. I'm kind of just enjoying doing all of it now. I'm sort of not beating myself up about getting it all right at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. You can easily take it too serious and like you said, beat yourself up about all the elements. You know, I guess as long as you get to play your song in real time with real people and get that instant reaction, that's such a great feeling. And regardless of size and setting and all that sort of stuff, you know, just to see people react.
Yeah, that's right. And
that's a good time.
That's right. Yeah,
thing.
and you know, I'm getting to do that a lot, playing live with other great people. Like, you know, just got a constant residency with the Flood these days, so we're just getting to play so much music and just finished a record with those guys. So there's all this great stuff coming up, and we're going away on the cruises and we're going to Cairns soon, and I'm playing with Jen at Caloundra Music Fest. So there's all these great things, and it's almost like I'd have to start giving all that stuff away to fit myself in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if someone was managing me, they'd be going, yeah, off at the end of the line there. But it's just like, man, like this is a golden period for me, I feel, where I'm just enjoying the people I am playing with so much. And I feel so privileged to play with them and to be happy with my music that I'm playing at the moment. And that's enough for me, you know.
That's so great. To have that diversity and to work at such a high level with people you respect and you enjoy their time, you know, that's it.
Yeah.
Goals.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me, that is success. Of course, you know, it'd be great if I could, you know, sell a song and buy a house. Okay, yeah, that's success that any songwriter would want. But for me, it feels quite successful at the moment. There's a lot of people listening to the music. I'm getting, you know, great reviews. I'm playing with great bands. That's it for me.
Yeah,
you know, maybe all downhill from me, my friend.
I think Tasmania's downhill from you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm hoping to come down next year and spend some time with Matt Fell and come down for his birthday. So
nice.
It's few and far between that I see you these days.
It has been a little while, but I was up at Matt's place on Friday night. I did a few last-minute supports with Fanny Lumsden and got to hang out at Matt's place on Friday. And awesome. Such a great space he's got there, and he's got some really great artists performing. I know Troy was there the night after I was there, and Felicity's coming down with Josh soon, and he's just like handpicking all these great artists to come and sort of
success.
Perform.
Well,
you know?
that is success, isn't it? You know, it like right there, he's built his and Woodstock cabin, you know, down there, and he's recording from down there. He's playing live with some great people, and now he's sort of got a performance space to be able to sort of do that too. And whether it's financially totally successful and everything like that, but it's still most people in their lives don't get to experience that sort of stuff. So that is success for me. It's privileged.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's definitely you could tell he's really in a good space when there's a gig there. You know, he's sort of like, I've created this. This is my little baby. You know, people are all here obviously to see the artist, but he sort of feels like he's a big part of that. So, and that, you know, that's a great goal.
Owning it, right? He's created it and built it. Build it and they will come, sort of thing. And it's only getting better down there. I know he's doing some work and building yurts or domes or whatever is going on down there. Building a commune and freaking out, whatever it's doing.
Yeah, well, they are in the hills, you know.
Yeah,
in the hills, things going up there.
Yeah, it's good. It can happen before you creeps up on you. That culty stuff, it'll creep up on you, man.
Well, thanks for your time, Jez. I reckon we wrap it up there, mate. Best of luck with the record. I know you won't need any luck. You just need to get it out there into some fresh ears, and hopefully we can catch up sometime and jam out on a blues or a country blues or a bit of Stones.
Oh, that'd be great to have you playing with me again. I mean, you often cross my mind as someone, if you were closer and it was easier and all that sort of stuff, that I know you'd be the right guy to be playing with me doing this sort of stuff, because, your ears are switched into that, you're wide open to that stuff. And so, and I'd love to be able to do that again someday. So let's keep that in mind. But, thanks for the chat. It's good to talk to you, man.
Likewise, man. All right. Take it easy. Thanks, Jez.
See you, PC.
Thanks for listening, folks, to another episode of Say It With Guitars. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, share it around to your mates, leave a good review, and hopefully we'll see you next time.